Hi guys, today we will be talking about output determination in SAP. Before you go through this video, it's absolutely necessary that you complete the condition technique. Without condition technique, you will not understand output determination, for the simple reason that output determination uses condition technique to a very large extent. So we'll get started with the concept first, and then we'll move on to the configuration. We'll do a quick demo using a sample document type and a certain set of conditions under which we want to simulate and see the output. Let's start with a business scenario. What is an output? An output of any process, be it an order creation, be it a delivery creation, billing creation, could be a document, or it could be some updates, or it could be some information passed on to another interface, so on and so forth. If you look at this example, you can see that orders are flowing in via these different kinds of interfaces, say phone, fax, email or other computer medium, EDI, so on and so forth. Now, for an order coming in via EDI, the corresponding order acknowledgement needs to also go via EDI. Similarly, for an order coming in via email, maybe the order acknowledgement also needs to go in via email. As of now, we have only seen creation of orders and then maybe do subsequent deliveries, but we have never seen how these orders are flown back as order acknowledgements to the customer. This is one example of how SAP does this using a technique called output determination. Output to what? Output to the transaction. Now remember, output determination is never done for master data. Let me just put that down here. Is only for transactional data. It could be orders, deliveries, billing, the main transactions, right? Now it's not just orders, it could be quotations, contracts, any sales document, any delivery document, any billing document. In short, any transaction. So order acknowledgement is just one example of how outputs can be triggered, or rather what types of outputs are triggered. Now let's see another example. There is an order that's coming in, and let's say for a certain type of product, consider Amazon, where certain products are sourced from some vendors. So depending on the nature of the product, maybe it will trigger a purchase order, or it will trigger a certain type of info that is sent to a warehouse, which could be internal or external, and that piece of information should be triggered as soon as an order is saved. That piece of information being hey, an order has come in for this product, keep it ready for shipping. And that information needs to go down to the warehouse. This can also be done using n number of methodologies. It could be an email, it could be a printout, it could be EDI, it could be fax, it could be any communication medium, doesn't matter. What needs to be sent and at what point it needs to be sent is what output determination is all about. For us, specifically functional consultants, the triggering mechanism is what we control. After it is triggered, how the actual data is being furnished, how the print is being created, or rather how the email is being formulated, is not our job. It's the job of the ABAP consultant to gather the data from the order, formulate it in a nice clean format and send it across to the customer. But our job is to control the triggering point. When is it triggered and under what conditions is it triggered? And when you think of conditions, obviously condition technique comes into play. Now, it need not always be order acknowledgements or interfaces. Any action that you want to perform after a transaction has been created. For example, after a delivery has been created, you want to intimate the customer saying the goods have been shipped. That's called an ASN, Advanced Shipment Notification. This is very used in EDI. So just get to know that term very well. Advanced Shipment Notification, which is a fancy word for, hey, we have sent the goods out to you, so keep your warehouse ready, keep your dock ready to receive the goods. Similarly, once your billing is done, you got to send out the bill to the customer. How do you do it? Again, it could be email, fax, print, EDI, so on and so forth. And all of that is triggered using standard output determination. Now, by now, probably you must have got this idea into your mind. A transaction that is saved can be triggered to perform certain actions. This is what output determination is. These actions can be sending communication, updating database tables, performing special functions, anything you want, anything under the sun. Your action is to trigger it under a certain set of conditions. That's your role. What happens after that is really your imagination and based on the business requirements. You can do basically anything. You can create another order if you want, but although it's rarely done. Okay. So here is some notes about what's output. Output communication to an external system, partners, or a placeholder after a transaction has been performed. So I talk about some examples. And when is it triggered? So this is triggered after a transaction has been performed. This is very important. You cannot trigger an output in the middle of creating an order. No. You can only trigger an output after saving the transaction. Okay. A third point being an output, let's say print output, can be reissued. Meaning, if you want to issue the output again, maybe the customer says, can you send that invoice out to me again? I lost it. Sure. An output can be reissued or re-triggered. An output can be sent out to one system or multiple systems. Multiple outputs can be triggered for one transaction. For example, you create an order, and as soon as you save an order acknowledgement needs to go out to the customer. This is the acknowledgement. An ASN maybe needs to go out to an external warehouse. 2 outputs, 1 transaction. Yes, it's possible. N number of outputs can be triggered after saving a transaction. Alright. Now, to look at the configuration, it's very simple. SPRO, IMG, sales and distribution, basic functions, output, and then you got your menu for output determination. Since I taught you VOK0 for pricing, output determination also has a similar transaction, VOK2. I would rather stick with that. But even if you go to the menu path, it's almost the same. Okay, so we are going to go and look at VOK2 and see where the configuration is. Okay, let's log in. Go to VOK2, and this is output determination configuration. As usual, you'll have the full range of condition technique here, starting with condition table, access sequence, condition type, the procedure, and assigning the procedure. Now this transaction takes care of output determination for sales documents, for deliveries, for billing documents, and for many others, but we are more interested in these 3: sales, delivery, billing. And the way condition technique is done here is not as exhaustive as pricing, but it's pretty robust in terms of the flexibility that it provides you. Like I said, the trigger point and the parameters based on which you trigger the output is what you control most of the time as a function consultant based on the business requirements. So here are your 6 or 7 steps that are required, starting with field catalog, condition table, access sequence, output types, procedure, and assignment. If you look at a standard order or a quotation or a contract, the assignment part is very simple. Unlike in pricing, where the assignment is based on those 3 parameters: sales area, document pricing procedure, customer pricing procedure. Instead of that, assigning output determination procedure is very straightforward. All sales output determination procedures are assigned to the sales document type. All delivery output determination procedures are assigned to the delivery document type. Similarly, billing output determination procedures are assigned to the billing document type. So the assignment part is very simple. And the 7th step is the creation of condition records, which is also important, but we'll get to that point. Alright, so we are walking backwards here. So we've got our procedure, and the procedure has been assigned. Now we need to look at a sample procedure. The standard output determination procedure that is assigned to OR or ZOR is V1000. Not very important, but what is more important is to understand that each output determination procedure is assigned to multiple output condition types, just like the way your pricing procedure works. And there is a sequence step counter 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4. And each condition type will have a requirement, which is actually a VOFM routine that you can use to evaluate whether a condition type should be used or not used. So you can write some ABAP code in there and figure out how or why a condition type can be evaluated. So this is how a procedure is, an output determination procedure. Now, as you can see, an output determination procedure is very simple compared to a pricing procedure. Now, going one step back, an output determination procedure consists of n number of condition types. And if you go back to what a condition type is, if you take a standard order confirmation BA00, each output condition type, like any other condition technique scenario, is assigned to one access sequence only. You must have learned about this when we discussed pricing. And apart from this, just like the way your pricing condition type has a bunch of controls like scales, variant condition, manual, header, so on and so forth, an output condition type also has a certain number of properties. Like, for example, we have access to conditions, cannot be changed, multiple issuing, so on and so forth. Now, I don't want you to really go through all these different properties at this point. It's too overwhelming. You just have to understand that there are a set of controls behind an output condition type that can be used to manipulate your requirements. So don't worry about trying and understanding what these different parameters are and how they are used and the business cases behind this. Not very important. What is more important is that you can control the medium. This is the medium. Medium meaning, is it print medium, fax medium, EDI medium, ALE medium, so on and so forth, workflow, so on and so forth. And you can also control the timing. This is important. Now, when you issue an output, for example, you create an order and then save it. An output is triggered. Now, as soon as an output is triggered, there are a bunch of options that you can configure for the output to actually work. The first option being send with application's own transaction or send immediately. Now, these options might look very similar, especially 2 and 3 and 1, but the most used ones are 1 and 4. These are the most used ones, and at least you should understand the difference between these two. Send immediately when saving the transaction means as soon as you save that order, and if the output is supposed to be triggered, it will be triggered. The first point is trigger, and the triggered output will be processed. So there are two steps to an output. The first step being triggering, the second step being after the output has been triggered, the processing has to happen. Okay, the trigger is like the starting point, but that doesn't really mean anything. It says okay, an output needs to be issued. Now when it will be issued is what a trigger counts, that's it. But what happens after it is issued is the processing part. Now if you choose option 4 for an output, it is triggered and processed at the same time, meaning one after the other. But if you choose 1, then the trigger happens and the trigger will go and make an entry in a table called NAST. The table called NAST will contain an entry that says this order number 123 needs to be triggered yet. And then there is a program called RS NAST 00, which is a batch process that periodically runs, and it will poll this table, meaning it will look through all the entries for unprocessed items, and whatever is unprocessed processes them. That's the key difference between 1 and 4. Send with periodically scheduled job, send immediately. Okay, and the name of the table here is NAST. This could be an important interview question for outputs. Please make a note of that. Name of the table is NAST, N-A-S-T, and the name of the program is RS NAST 00. Alright, moving on. Each output type will be associated with a program. For print, the program is different. For EDI, the program is different. For fax, the program could be different. For email, the program could be different, so on and so forth. That program is technical in nature, and we'll talk briefly about the different technologies that are used, especially when generating print outputs or email outputs. For EDI, it's a totally different ball game. But for print and email, a standard set of technologies are used, which we are going to talk about briefly for a bit. So the second important thing about an output is a processing routine. Each output will be associated with a processing program, and that processing program will contain the logic in ABAP to pull all the data from the order, create an output in a pretty format, and then push it across to the customer. Right? Now there are driver programs, there are forms, so on and so forth. It's not really very important for us. Okay, and then we can also ensure that for each medium we can define whether the output should go to a sold to, or a ship to, or a bill to, so on and so forth. It's really under our control. Now let me show you the entire flow in a step-by-step fashion so that you understand the flow logic. So transaction is created, let's say order, and the transaction is saved, Control S, and you can trigger an output. One output, more than one output, it's really up to you. One or more than one output. Output. Each output will correspond to an output condition type. Each condition type will be associated with a bunch of parameters. Parameters being 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. The first is about timing. 1 corresponds to immediate, 4 corresponds to a different option via batch process, so on and so forth. It also contains the processing program. it also contains the medium. Is it email? Is it fax? Is it print? Is it EDI? So on. It also contains a whole bunch of other parameters that we are not going to bother about. Okay, this is the flow logic. Now, coming to the trigger. Okay, we know that this trigger happens as soon as you save, but in order for that trigger to happen, this document type should be assigned to an output determination procedure. An output determination procedure which comprises of multiple output types. And each output type will be associated with an access sequence, and each access sequence will contain multiple condition tables. Each condition table, as usual, will contain a bunch of fields. This is your good old condition technique. And these fields will be picked up from the field catalog, so on and so forth. So this comprises of your configuration, and as usual, step number 7 is condition record creation. Pricing condition records were created in week 11, whereas your output condition records are created using a different transaction. So you can go to logistics, sales and distribution, master data, output. For example, if you're doing output for billing, you go to billing. If you're doing output for sales, you go to sales, and the transaction is VV11. Now this is different from week 11. VV11. Alright, so let's do an example and see how things are working. The scenario is going to be something like this. So we have created an order of type ZOR5. Right? We will create a new output determination procedure called Z whatever, and it will be a copy of the standard V1000 copy, and we'll modify it to include a new condition type. Insert the new condition type in it, and the new condition type will be associated with a new access sequence. This new access sequence will contain a parameter. Let's say it should be triggered only for a particular customer. Let's say 1000 or 10,000, whatever that customer is that we want to use. Right? So if you work backwards, because when configuring you have to work backwards, from the field catalog you select the field Kunnar, because you want to trigger this output based on a customer. If you want based on sales, or if you want based on some other parameter, choose it, no problem, depending on your business requirement. I'm just taking a much simpler case. Only customer. For 1000, this output should be triggered. Alright, and this access sequence should contain a condition table that contains Kunnar, and work backwards, so on and so forth. Let's start with the condition table. So you go to VOK2, which is our output determination configuration. Go to sales document, condition table, create. Let's say 801. Okay, it already exists. 832. Okay, this seems to be working. We want just the customer, right? So customer, select it, and it gets dragged to your left. go to technical view, make sure you have selected Kunnar. Okay, sometimes it's really trial and error. Sometimes it really doesn't work properly because you might be expecting Kunnar, but it might be KDNR or Kinnar underscore V, but it's really trial and error. So try and work out a couple of options there. If one thing doesn't work, try something else. Okay, but it will not be too far off, don't worry. And hit your generate button as usual. So your condition table is being saved, and the table number is 832. So let's go here, and step number 1, condition table with customer Kunnar is 832. And remember, in pricing the prefix was A, so it was A832. Here it's B832. Output is B832, but that's not very important. So 832 is there. Okay, good. Next is an access sequence. Go to the access sequence, create your own access sequence, as simple as that. So go to new entries, Z005, test, start, double clicking on access, new entries 10, and then 832, hit on exclusive. If you have requirements, you can put them here, but if you don't have, you can just skip that and double click on fields. As usual, watch out for this warning sign and then hit enter. Make sure everything is either green or blue. If not, something is wrong. Now that we've seen everything is in blue, go ahead and save this transaction. Now we have created an access sequence Z005. Access sequence Z005 and assigned this to 832. Third step is condition type. So we'll take a standard condition type for output called BA00, and then we'll make a copy of it and create our own. BA00 is the standard print output, meaning when you issue BA00, you are supposed to get a print of the order. So let's take that and make a copy of it. Alright, there we go. Copy and call it Z05 test order blah 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 whatever, and then copy all and assign it to the access sequence Z005 that we have created in the previous transaction. And here you can set your transmission medium. We want a print output, and we want to go, let's say, with a periodically scheduled job. Okay, it's 1. And then let's say go to processing routines, and then you'll see that for print, this is the program that will be the processing program. The trigger is what we are defining here, but after the trigger happens, this is the program that will be executed when that batch program runs. Alright, and if you want, you should also define the partner functions. So for which partner function this output should be triggered, and for which medium. Okay, so we have created our okay, sometimes when you mix up config non-client specific transaction, this happens. So make sure that you don't mix those kinds of transactions. It's really not very useful. Data was changed. No, let's start all the way again. Condition type, see if there is Z005. If there is Z005, make sure that it is assigned to Z005 access sequence. Alright, if that's done, you're good to go. Next is of course the output determination procedure. The standard output determination procedure is V10000 for output orders. So we're going to copy it and then call it test. Right? See, all along we are not using the standard procedure, standard condition type, standard access sequence. We are always copying and creating our own. And go to control and then create your own output type there. You don't need the rest of the things. If you want, you can delete all of this stuff. Whatever is not required can be deleted, but make sure you do it only in the custom procedure starting with Z. Do not change the standard. Alright, so this is saved. Procedure is done. Oh, by the way, we didn't assign it yet, right? So go to VOK0, go to condition type, sorry, VOK2. I just got 2 used to pricing. VOK2 sales document and then assign. Typically output determination procedures are always assigned to header. Okay, so select header and select your document type. In our case, our document type is UR5 and the output determination procedure is Z005 test. Alright, and then click save. You don't need this output type, you can as well delete it. Okay, next is the creation of condition records. So we want to create a condition record for the new condition type Z005 that we have created, and our trigger point is a specific customer. So if customer, let's say 1000, and for that 1000 customer, if we are creating an order, then for a particular order type ZOR5, an output should be triggered. That's what we want to do here. So go to VA01, use ZOR5, because if you use OR or something else, it doesn't work, right? And then use 1000 as the customer. Continue. Just put in some material which is not required in this case. Okay, save it, save it. Now where do you see outputs being determined? Just like the way we have pricing, right? So go to change mode, or even in creation mode also, go to extras, output, header, edit. Then you should be able to see the output type here. If not, something is wrong. Maybe it was not triggered properly. So click on I, the I button, which is the analysis. So if you click on I, you'll see that for this guy, access has not been made. So uninitialized field, or it's saying something. It doesn't matter what it says, but there is something wrong there. Okay, so the customer was not being mapped properly. The value in the document is not being mapped to the value in the access sequence. So what do we do in this case? So we first try and understand whether our condition records have been created right, and then our pricing output condition type has been created right, the condition procedure has been created right, so on and so forth. So do a thorough debugging. If things don't work, the second level of debugging is, if you look at this value in doc, it's coming up as blank. That means the customer that you have entered is not being initialized properly to that technical field that we are trying to look at. So let's go back to the drawing board again. VOK2, go to SD document, sales document, and condition table. What is our condition table? go to the technical view and then see that it's KNDNR. Well, let's look at what KNDNR is. It's customer. Now what customer? Is it sold to, shipped to, billed to, payer, vendor? That KNDNR is not being properly populated because 1000 as we have entered is not a customer as it is defined in the technical field KNDNR, but it is sold to, right? So let's see if there is a sold to here. So page down, yeah, then we see a sold to here, right? So go to the technical view and go to the change mode for this table and go to sold to party, double click on it. Oops. Okay, let's create another table, 833 let's say, or 834, 835. Oops, change, no. Let's go to create mode and then type in 833. Okay, and instead of customer, let's choose sold to party. Go to technical view and make sure that it is Kunnar, right? See, this is the trial and error that I was talking about, because I don't know if it is the technical name is Kunnar or KNDNR or KUNAG. This is confusing even for the most seasoned consultants, so you don't have to really worry. You have to do some amount of trial and error there, right? And then now click generate. Let's see if it works now. Okay, the table is 833. Okay, now go to your access sequence and change the table to 833. Okay, go to new entries, 20, 833, click on exclusive, enter, and then the next step that you should not forget is select it, go to fields, you'll get this warning, click OK, and then you should be able to see that field being mapped. New access sequence. Okay, now go back, delete 10 because that did not work for us. All entries, that's right, save it, go back, and then we don't need to change anything else at this point other than creating a condition record. So VV11 Z005 sold to is 1000, and let's see if it works now. Save it. VA01 ZOR5 1000, and go to extras, output, header, edit, and still doesn't work. So why is that? Click on I and then see if this has been determined right. Okay, now we see that the value in the doc has been determined right, but probably we didn't define other parameters like what is the communication medium, so on and so